Okay, good evening. It's 6:30. I call to order the meeting of the regular council meeting of the Township of Hamilton, October 18th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Mr. Carabelli?
Here.
Mr. Papero?
Here.
Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Here. Please stand for our flag salute and remain standing for our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we please bow our heads. God of healing and mercy, be our strength and refuge when we are in despair or pain. May we turn to you always for guidance and hope. Open our eyes to compassion, hope, and mercy and love that you express to us through your teachings. May we imitate these attributes. And always may we, as township representatives, serve the community with dedication and equity for all. We make all of these intentions in your name, dear Lord. Amen.
Good evening. Before we start our formal agenda this evening, we wanted to invite Dan Gaddy to the podium. He's been with us since October, and we appointed him at a previous meeting, but he was unable to be with us. He's our new tax assessor. So welcome, Mr. Gaddy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is very exciting, very good to be here. This is a great town. I worked here on the revaluation about like 6-7 years ago, and at that time I said, you know, I'd really love to be the assessor here. And with Don and Vicky, I know I got some big shoes to fill, but yeah, and when I left my last job, I said, or when I was there, I said, you know, the only place that I'd ever leave this job for would be for the chance to go be the assessor in Hamilton, and here I am.
Welcome.
So, thank you. Yeah, I look very forward to serving the town, serving the taxpayers, the residents with everything that I can do.
Appreciate it very much. We're happy to have you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you on board.
Great, thank you.
And you have besides the reval, that was about 7-8 years ago. Was your first indoctrination to Hamilton Township?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And that was, I mean, that really gave me a chance to get to see and know the entire town. I mean, for as big as it is and all, it's got a lot of moving parts,
Right.
and a lot going on. So with doing the reval and running the whole project, I got to see a little bit of everything, a lot of everything, really.
Good. Well, we're happy to have you on board.
Great, thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
All right.
You're welcome to
Great.
stay, or you're welcome to go.
I have a few more things to do before I head home, so.
All right. Thanks again
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you for coming in.
Have a good night.
evening.
Nice to meet you.
Council President, under minutes, we have the September 20th, 2022 regular meeting minutes for your approval.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or comments from council on the meeting minutes? Okay. Nothing for that?
No.
No. Okay. So I have a motion to move on September 20th, 22 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Papero?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Under communications, C1 is a joint commendation honoring Larry S. Rosenthal.
Okay. Councilman Ty, if you would do the honors of this very special commendation tonight.
This is a commendation honoring my friend Larry S. Rosenthal. Whereas we honor all men and women who serve and who have served in the United States Armed Forces throughout history. And whereas Hamilton Township is proud to honor one of our own, Larry S. Rosenthal, who enlisted in the New Jersey National Guard at the age of 33 and a half, expecting to provide civil defense and disaster relief in his home state. And whereas Larry served in the Army, including during the Cold War beginning in 1984, as a member of the 114th Infantry Regiment, 250th Forward Support Battalion, during his time in service, he rose to the ranks of First Sergeant and was also a part of the 50th Personnel Service Branch, 10th Mountain Division. And whereas notably, Larry found himself called to active duty on September 11, 2001, and served as a chaplain assistant at Ground Zero immediately following the terrorist attacks on our nation that day. And whereas after serving for more than 20 years, Larry was then deployed to Afghanistan in 2006, where he performed perimeter security duties at Bagram Air Base. And whereas during his years of service, Larry was based out of New York, Camp Atterbury, Indiana, Bagram Airfield, Afghanistan, New Jersey, and Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And whereas Larry is an active member of the Jewish War Veterans Organization, having served as a veteran service officer and 4 terms as the state commander, he will now serve the organization on a national level as the chief of staff under the national commander. And whereas this past June, Larry was selected out of thousands of applicants to receive the Quilt of Valor Award, a handmade quilt bestowed upon an active duty member or veteran who's been touched by war, thanking them for their service and sacrifice. Therefore, be it resolved by Mayor Jeffrey S. Martin and this Hamilton Township Council that this resolution of commendation be and hereby is adopted, honoring Larry S. Rosenthal for his years of faithful service and sacrifice for our country and community. And be it further resolved that we extend our wishes of good health, success, and much happiness in the coming years.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
How are we going to do this with this wire?
Stand on the wire when it goes over. How's that? There you go. Look at that.
All right, you guys
What
got
time
it?
is?
Can we see the flag?
Yep, perfect. Yep, turn. Oops, hold on, sorry. All right, stay. Good.
And we'll do it.
Yeah, look at me real quick, guys. Thumbs
Real
up.
quick.
1, 2, 3. Okay, we're good. Okay, yep. Thank
That's
you.
the one that's going on Facebook.
Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Congratulations and thank you.
Congratulations. Twice.
Congratulations, Larry.
Twice. For the engagement and,
Well deserved.
engagement.
That's
Yeah,
true.
she and I.
That's true.
Twice.
Madam President, the next communication is C2, which is a joint commendation celebrating the 10-year anniversary of I Believe in Pink organization.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll be reading this proclamation, and then it will be presented to the organization and an upcoming event. Whereas Stacy Spera, Dennis Mariani, and Tracy Destrabats formed the nonprofit organization called I Believe in Pink after Stacy's personal battle with breast cancer. And whereas breast cancer is one of the most common cancer in women in the United States. It is about 30% of all new female cancers each year. And whereas at this time, there are more than 3.8 million breast cancer survivors in the United States, 64% of breast cancer cases are diagnosed at a localized stage, and the 5-year relative survival rate for localized disease is 99%. And whereas I Believe in Pink is a grassroots fundraising effort to aid victims of breast cancer and their families by providing financial assistance for medical costs not covered by insurance, transportation to and from treatment, and provide nutritional foods, household assistance, and specialty items such as wigs, as well as fund research for a cure. And now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Jeffrey S. Martin, Mayor of Hamilton Township in the County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, do hereby extend my sincerest best wishes and congratulations to I Believe in Pink on their 10th anniversary of fundraising. Thank you.
Council President, item C3 is a joint proclamation declaring October 20th, 2022 as Imagine a Day Without Water in Hamilton.
Councilman Whalen?
Sure, thank you, Council President. Whereas the Imagine a Day Without Water campaign, held on October 20th, 2022, is an organized effort to highlight the critical importance of reliable access to clean water in our lives and investment in the infrastructure that is necessary to protect this valuable resource. And whereas the infrastructure that brings water to and from homes and businesses is essential to the quality of life and economic vitality in Hamilton Township, and whereas utilities nationwide are grappling with aged infrastructure, and whereas managing water responsible is critical to our public and environmental health and to the high quality of life through economic commerce, power generation, and recreation. Whereas innovation in water conservation and water resource will drive to job growth and economic development and establish a 21st century paradigm of water management in the United States. And whereas the Township of Hamilton is dedicated to investing in safe and reliable water and wastewater infrastructure. And whereas the Township of Hamilton recognizes water is essential to the quality of life and economic competitiveness and acknowledges the importance of educating the public about the value of water through the Imagine a Day Without Water campaign. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Jeffrey S. Martin, Mayor, and the Township Hamilton Council hereby name the 20th day of the month of October in the 2022 year as Imagine a Day Without Water. And Hamilton Township encourage all Hamiltonians to join us in commemorating this important cause.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council President, item C4 is a joint commendation declaring October 23rd to the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Hamilton Township.
Councilman Caravelli?
Yes, thank you. Whereas the objective of Red Ribbon Week is to promote the creation of drug-free communities through drug prevention efforts, education, parental involvement, and community-wide support. And whereas the Red Ribbon campaign was established to commemorate the service of Enrique Kiki Camarena, an 11-year special agent of the Drug Enforcement Administration who was murdered in the line of duty in 1985 while engaged in the battle against illicit drugs. And whereas the Red Ribbon campaign has been nationally recognized since 1988 to preserve Special Agent Camarena's memory and further the cause for which he gave his life, and is now the oldest and largest drug prevention program in the nation, reaching millions of young people each year during Red Ribbon Week. And whereas drug abuse is one of the major challenges that the nation faces in securing a safe and healthy future for our families, and drug dealers are specifically targeting children by marketing illicit drugs that mimic the appearance and names of well-known brand name candies and foods. And whereas parents, youth, schools, businesses, law enforcement agencies, religious institutions, service organizations, senior citizens, medical and military personnel, sports teams, and individuals throughout the United States will demonstrate their commitment to healthy, productive, and drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during this week-long celebration. Now therefore be it resolved by Mayor Jeffrey S. Martin and the Council of the Township of Hamilton in the County of Mercer and State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through October 31st as Red Ribbon Week. Celebrate life, live drug-free in Hamilton, and encourage all Hamiltonians to participate in drug prevention educational activities, not only during Red Ribbon Week, but also throughout the year, making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Council President, the last item under communications is C5, which is a receipt of documentation to update alcoholic beverage control license 1103-33003, known as Outback Steakhouse of Florida LLC. They're doing business as Outback Steakhouse, and this is to change of corporate officers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any questions from council on C5?
No.
Madam Clerk, can we do a joint motion for C1 through C5?
Certainly.
Do I have a motion?
Make Yes, Council President, I move on communications items C1 through C5.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Communications passes 5-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. For your consideration, we have items CA1 through CA38.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As you can see, we have an extensive consent agenda. I have plenty of notes if anyone has any questions. I just wanted to highlight a few, and if I miss anything, council members, please jump in. First and foremost, we have some new appointments to our Economic Development Advisory Commission. We have appointments to our Environmental Advisory Commission and the reappointment of Joanne Bruno as an alternate. We also have an appointment of our acting assistant municipal prosecutor. CA5 is authorizing a labor agreement between the Township of Hamilton and AFSCME, Blue Collar Local 2475. Moving on, we have a grant fund of $10,500 coming in from the Drive Sober, Get Pulled Over program. A lot of just renewal of leases, etc. We do also have CA18 enables the allocation of additional funds awarded through the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Program in the amount of $750,000 for open space purchases. I wanted to highlight that CA28 is establishing a contract for purchase and installation of park and playground equipment for Sunset Park Playground, as we see our playgrounds get updated all over the township. And I thought I had something more that let me just check my notes real quick. Increase in grant money for safe schools we have as well. So a lot of incoming grant money for safety in our community through the police, through the school systems. And again, I was very happy to see that the playground was on there because we know how much those are needed. So I don't think there was anything else. Anything else you guys wanted to have?
Nothing.
No, just quickly comment that I thought that look forward to working with our new member of the Economic Development Advisory Commission on CA1. It looks like the three candidates that are going to be one's reappointed, two are going to be appointed, have great experience regarding the environment, and will be welcome members to Councilman Ty's group over there. And I was happy to see that we settled the labor agreement. One question I did have, Kathy, was regarding Millennium Strategies. I know that we're extending it another 3 months.
That's why I wanted to go.
That's what he said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean,
You've read my
okay. So we're extending another 3 months, and then what's the procedure after that? We need to go out to bid for this contract, and
Yes, that's what ends up happening. We do requests for proposals, and they get scored for whatever comes in on different criteria.
okay.
So you'll see that once we do the bid proposals and they come in, we'll come back to you with whoever we have a recommendation to award.
But we're allowed to extend it to the end of the year?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
So we can do that because we didn't put the contract for the full amount that we were allowed to at that time. So you can approve a few more months on that.
Okay.
And then, so we wanted to time it with all of the other RFPs that we do for the year. This is when the time of year that we do them.
Okay,
So, and
excellent.
we'll also have a report for you on Millennium so that you can know, at least for this contract, right, how well that they did.
Okay,
All right?
very good. Thank you.
Any other comments? Still your topic?
Myself and Councilman Carabelli, we think a lot alike on this. When we, 3 years ago, we started talking about bringing in a grant writer, and there's a lot of grants that aren't being used. And we found this company, and I think we're all equally happy about the success we've had with them in this short amount of time. So I look forward to that report. I know that there was a few $1 million more than we even were getting before, which they obviously, that was a great investment for us.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Great.
Money well spent.
It's a great return on investment, yeah. Okay, any other comments? Okay, at this time, we will open comments to the public. If you have any question or comment on consent agenda items only, and that would be consent agenda CA1 through CA38, you may come to the podium. This would be only on the consent agenda items. Janice?
Thanks, Jen. I'm learning.
Sure. Janice Gladick, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. What is CA30? Is that the headquarters for the whole fire department? At Hamilton? For delivery and installation of furniture for the fire department's newly created headquarters?
Yes.
So Hamilton Firehouse is going to be the head honcho for the whole fire department? That's where the head chief and all is going to be?
Yes, Station 14, correct.
That's Hamilton, right?
Right in
Yeah,
Bromley, right in Bromley Center.
okay. That's what always drove me nuts. You always do these things by numbers. People know names, they don't know numbers. Especially 14 is the engine, the house was 4, you know. It gets very confusing. So I have my list in my pocketbook at all times, so I know what you're talking about. Okay. So that's going to be the new headquarters with the new chief we have now, so.
Yes.
And that's where it's going to be set up permanently. Okay, sounds like a
That's what-
plan. Right in your
Thank
route.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Anyone else on consent agenda? Oh, sorry, I couldn't see you. Come on up.
Janice had to remind me, I had to put my hand up, so I apologize. I'm out of order. So the request for proposal.
Would you please identify yourself for the
Oh,
record?
I'm sorry, James Walters, P.O. Box 8935. So the request for proposal for Millennium, I'm assuming that's a grant writing service?
Yes.
Okay, how long have we had them? Or how long have we contracted for that?
I would have to say, no, it's more than that, it's 2 or 3.
Two or 3 years.
Okay.
We brought it up our first year, in 2020, why we didn't have it, and then we approved it, I believe, halfway through the year.
I think we probably got proposals
I
at
could
the
look
end
at
of
it.
2020 or somewhere along there, and then appointed them then. But we can look for certain of it.
Okay. But obviously the ROI has been substantial,
Yes.
3 million. I'm gonna assume we're probably not giving them 3 million, right?
No.
It's all public record, you can look that one up, it's far less than 3 million.
All right, outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other further comment on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with CA1 through CA38.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Consent agenda passes 5-0. Moving on to ordinances, the following are second reading and public hearing. First one being ordinance number 1, known as 22-043, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 485-19, Handicap Parking. This is to repeal a space established at 1312 William Street by ordinance number 16-019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question or comment from council? Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the public on ordinance 122-043? Seeing none?
Madam Clerk, seeing no public comment, I move that we close the public comment portion and move ordinance 22-043 on second reading.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 5-0. Ordinance 2 is 22-044, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 485-19, Handicap Parking. This is establishing a space for 9 Mervine Place.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Question or comment from council? Do we have any question or comment from the public on ordinance number 2, 22-044? Seeing none, do I have a motion? Do we have a motion?
Yes, Council President, Move to close the public portion and move on ordinance 222-044.
Second motion?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 5-0. The following ordinances are first reading and introduction. 22-045 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, Section 485-19, Handicap Parking. This is to repeal a space established at 35 Annabelle Avenue by Ordinance 19-037.
Council President, I move ordinance 22-045 on first reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 5-0. Ordinance 22-046 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 550, Land Development, Article 3, District Regulations, Section 550-96, Mixed Use Overlay. I think that's Mixed Overlay 1. Can you just double check that?
That's what mine says.
Yeah, looks like it is.
Do I have a motion for introduction?
Council President, I'll make a motion to move 22-046 on first reading and introduction.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Madam, I'm sorry. Yes, Madam Clerk. Sorry. I got thrown off by Jeff.
No. On the motion, Mr. Ty?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Ordinance passes 5-0. Madam President, that concludes the formal portion of the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk and Council. At this time, we will be beginning our public comment portion. Before we begin, I just want to review some of, so as a council in these chambers, we follow Robert's rules. So just as a reminder, just want to go through what that means. So we will invite the public to make comment. On your first time to the podium, you receive 4 minutes. That will include any question and answers if you are engaging with the council. And at 4 minutes, we'll ask you to please have a seat. You can come back up for a second time for another 2 minutes, but we will be keeping very strictly to these times for respect for everyone here who would like to speak. Okay? Thank you. So our first speaker we have, or comment, James Walters. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. You're conducting business. Come on. James Walters, P.O. Box 8935. So the reason why I'm here this evening is just to kind of respond to some rumors that I've been hearing about what's going on, clearly. So I still have a lot of friends at the police department. And we talk and they say, hey, listen, the guys and the gals are feeling a little ill at ease. They think you're turning your back on the police department. And I want to say that is so far from the truth. And I want to go on record. If anyone has a problem with anything I've done, Pat can attest to this. Although I didn't answer your call, I'm sorry, I didn't even see it come through. I had a lot of calls. You can call me, my number's out there. You know where to find me, right? We can sit down, we can have coffee, we can do whatever. That's any person, any cop, everyone knows that about me, right? I've worked with the township 30 years. I've done a lot of things. I've already told you that. I've worked with a lot of different law enforcement agencies, assisting them. I'm currently an ICS instructor, right? Very few in the state. And I'm doing that for police officers, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to go over very quickly. If you, and this is just an analogy, if you have a master bricklayer and you have a line and the apprentice is off of that line, and the master bricklayer says, hey, stop, you're off. That wall is going to be crooked. It won't be structurally sound. The apprentice has to stop. The apprentice can't say, well, I think it's good because the master apprentice said, stop, the supervisor, right? If you have a teacher who has a teacher in practicum and they are teaching a style that you don't approve of that may be contradictory to, let's say, Danielson's Quadrant 3, of which we're both very familiar with. and the teacher says, hey, you are a in practicum teacher. You cannot teach that way because you're actually teaching to students. And I'm responsible for that. At the end of the day, it's me, it's my license, it's on the line. And the master teacher says, stop. Then you have to stop. Pat, if you're out patrolling with your K-9 and your sergeant comes up to you and says, hey, listen, Pat, you're driving around, I saw you, you let the dog drive the car. You can't do that. Dogs should not drive police cars. And he says, stop, or she says, stop. What do? You stop. My situation is not really all that complicated. If you take out the sensationalism, which I hate to even say that, but if you simply say, as a sergeant, I saw something that I felt was inappropriate. This is not a bash to anyone. It's one Hamilton. I've done work, right? I've volunteered with Habitat for Humanity. I've done it all, been on all kinds of boards. But this is simply a sergeant who gets paid to make decisions who saw something that he did not approve of. And he said, stop.
Oh, you already, yep. Okay,
We got the time?
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sorry,
Okay,
you had left.
all right.
Yeah.
And he said, stop. And we all know, whether you're a bricklayer, whether you're a teacher, or whether you're a K-9 officer, you stop. And that's it. And 8 years later, I'm not standing before you when I should be helping my neighbor do some work in the backyard, pleading or making videos or coming before you when cops calling and everything else. It's ridiculous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Walter. You're gonna be welcome to come back up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for your service. I mean
Thank
that.
you. Up next, I have, is it Chanel Vickers Ames?
Yes.
Did I say it correctly this time? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chanel, a Hamilton resident, Hamilton, New Jersey resident. So I'm here tonight because we had a community meeting where I addressed some speeding situations, and yes, I was addressed that we will never stop the speeding. Well, last week on East Park Avenue, we had 2 incidents occur. We had a student get hit. She broke her leg. The next day, we had a fatality. I was the PTA president at Wilson Elementary, 2016 through 2019. I have reported a lot of times to Hampstead, to the Board of Ed, to the principal. Me and the crossing guard reported on different, I'm not gonna say complaints, but suggestions, because a complaint gets you nowhere. Suggestions on how we can alter the speeding situation. There is a flashing cross light at the field of the high school, but that doesn't help the elementary school. I reached out to the family, got permission to continue my conversation tonight on a level of respect. I was gonna have this talk regardless before the fatality happened, but I have a big heart and I put myself in their situation. So I did make sure they were gonna be okay that I continued this conversation tonight. I'm gonna talk about it again tomorrow at the Board of Ed meeting because I feel like the township and the Board of Ed need to come together and fix this problem. It's been ongoing for years. I mean, I was the Board of Ed, I'm the PTA president in 2016. It is now 2022. I don't know how many times I kept saying to the Board of Ed, when is something gonna happen to make change? Well, now it did. When can we fix it? Something needs to help. We need to help these kids. The little people are barely tall enough to be seen over a bumper. Unfortunately, this was a grown man, but still, it can happen to a child. I've watched the crossing guard the first day of school. Someone stopped at the crosswalk with her stop sign in her hand. We have to help her, help the kids. Point blank. We gotta do something. And my other concern would be 506 Ridge Avenue is a vacant house. It is buckling over, literally. It's gonna fall. It is already condemned. It has the big orange sticker in the window, but it is literally collapsing. I don't know who I need to speak to. So I was like, I'm gonna come to the meeting, just put it out there. So if someone can come out and take another glimpse of it, I know there was a walkthrough. It was put on a list, but with the storms that have been happening and the rain, it is actually starting to fall forward.
What's the address?
506.
506 Ridge Avenue,
R-I-C-H or R-I?
Ridge.
RIDGE.
Okay,
Yes,
On Ridge and Marion.
all right, I will look into that.
thank you.
Thank you, Chanel. And Kathy, just a quick question as far as, because this came up in the spring as well for Morgan Elementary. We had also a pedestrian accident.
Right. So, other than the programs that we've been doing for pedestrian safety, because we're part of all of that, the safe routes to schools, and we're trying to, and we're working, and it's not an insignificant amount of money that we put towards that, but I think we can even go a little further, right, and have additional review to make sure that we're catching all of the areas that really need more concern for safety. So we're committed to doing that, especially for the schools and our children there. But overall, throughout the town for pedestrians, we've had occasions where the police have done extra patrols in particular areas, and they'll do so in this case here if they haven't already. But we were assured that that would happen, just to try to, at least for that moment, momentarily, right, slow down some of the cars that may be traveling too fast. We don't know all of the circumstances of the accident that happened, and so I'm sure they'll do a full investigation into that as well. But we also have staff members too that can help look at this from a traffic perspective. So in our engineering department, they've already made mention that they're going to, in particular where this incident happened, make sure that they're out reviewing that too. So hopefully we'll get some feedback from all of these areas that will end up helping us, formulate more ways to create safety for our pedestrians and our students if we can.
There was, Chanel, can you come back up? There was another address, was it 572?
I didn't write it down, but there's,
Another address you had told me about that I had mentioned?
oh, yes, I can check in my text message.
Maybe, I believe it was 572 was also one that I had said.
572 Ridge?
Ridge
Yes,
Street.
it's right on the corner actually, but I can check my text message. And if I may respond, so the speed test was done at the school the first 2 weeks of the summer. I requested it. I was actually trying to find my Hampstead request so I could waive my papers. I requested and suggested probably about 20 since 2016. It's been ongoing, and they did the speed radar test when the kids weren't present, which I felt was redundant and pointless.
Things a little bit, so yeah.
And the first week of school, they did have an officer out there. The first full day of school, I actually was off and wanted to see the progression. He pulled over about 15 cars.
So we'll see about doing another speed test that would be more relevant. That may be one of the suggestions that comes back from our engineering department or from our police department in order to do that. So we'll check on that. And I'll be curious when you speak with the Board of Ed or meet with them, right? So they may have some things that they would commit to doing as well. And so there's no reason why we can't discuss that together and do things together as well.
That address was 572, yes.
Okay.
And Chanel,
Thank you.
Chanel, one quick question, and this is open to anyone. How's the signage on that street? I obviously been there many times, but I just can't recall. Is there a need for,
There are speed limit 25 miles, but are there any close to the actual school? I don't believe so. So the street curves as you get
Yep.
close to the school.
Sure.
I want to say that there is one close to the curve, but that curve is, I want to say maybe 5 streets from the actual school. So is
Okay.
there one closer to the school? I can't say. I can check, but I don't know off the top of my head. But to have the 2 schools back to back, I mean.
I'm not saying it's going to improve it completely, but you know,
The flashing lights on one side.
Yeah.
We put them on the side where the curve is. Those street signs, those speed limit signs, just like everywhere, they've been there for 30 years. So you're driving down the road, you don't even
Recognize it.
anymore.
And you have to take in consideration that that stretch right there is really in between Clinton Avenue and Arena, so people are going, like, regardless. I mean, I live there, and I catch myself sometimes like, whoa, slow down.
well, the other thing is it's a wider street, right?
Yes.
You know, I mean, which encourages people to drive, like, not encourages, but you know,
It's like a natural instinct
Right.
because the street is so wide
right.
to just go a little faster.
You're right, but you know, I have a hard time, you know, we all, you know, anybody that says they never speed. I just have a hard time when, you know, you have 2 schools right there. And you know there's a speed limit. And for somebody to ignore that, especially during the daylight hours when kids are commuting to school, whether they're walking, being dropped off, it could be a resident walking their grandkid or their son or daughter to school. You know, for somebody to be that ignorant, not to pay attention, especially in that area where you have 2 schools literally across the street from one another, is just unbelievable that would happen.
I think the saddest part is majority of the students in that school are walkers. So I think they might get 3 buses. Might. And we actually started parking the buses on Park Avenue on purpose to slow the traffic down. And people double park, triple park, and cars still zoom past. So I don't know how to help the school. I'm not even the PTA president anymore, and I'm still here doing this.
I'm
So.
concerned.
Well, I mean, I have a kid that goes there, and I'm gonna be concerned.
Like,
And he's a walker,
Yeah, we have
so.
17 neighborhood elementary
Right.
schools, most of them are walkers. I hope Ms. Thornton doesn't mind me pointing her out, but so Dina Thornton is here from the Board of Ed. She and I started this conversation last year, right? And we've been already discussing how we can coordinate, because also, you know, you can have one school that has a ton of signage, bright lights, you know, with Edinburgh, where the accident happened last year, again, that's a very wide roadway, it's a county roadway. So we're trying to bring together different group, you know, we have to work with the county, but I assure you it's something that's a priority for both them and us. So, but thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Larry Paul II.
And good evening. And I just want to say the 3 names after mine are also with me as well. We thought that was just a sign-in sheet or something just to let you know from Shauna Parsons down. But first I want to thank Rick Ty and Anthony Carabelli, because the reason why I'm here is because we were at a economic event together, and they listened to me, and they heard that my concerns. They remembered me from coming here a couple weeks ago, and they told me, come back on Tuesday so you can have your word. And so I appreciate that, fellas. The first thing I want to say is just to explain the situation to you guys. So on April 25th of 2021, my godson, my sister Shauna, her son Caden Phillips, he passed away. Now, the way that he passed away is kind of why we're here. He passed away in Hamilton Township. The address is 420 Trenton Avenue. I'm sorry, 240 Trenton Avenue in Hamilton Township. Shauna was notified by her brother that her son had passed, to grab her things, come to the home to evaluate the situation. And so she did that. She called me, my wife, a few of our other friends. We all met at the house to, you know, just to be there for her, help her in that time. And so we all been here since the beginning of that process. And since the beginning of that process, we do not feel like we have been listened to. We don't feel like we have been a part of the process. At the beginning, it was a lot of, we have an 8-year-old that passed away, right? After we get an autopsy, it's revealed that he passed away from that there was methadone in his system.
I'm sorry, Mr. Paul, very sorry to interrupt.
No
you.
problem.
Council President, we've lost the video stream, so if we can just take a minute and see if we can't get this back.
No,
Okay.
no, you're
Thank
good.
you, ma'am.
I don't forget this.
We'll freeze your
Just
time,
came back
please.
up. Good.
Okay, you're good. You're back on.
Oh, no problem, no problem, thank you. And so, so the main thing is we just feel like, it's been a long time and it hasn't been really reviewed correctly. And so we wanted to just bring it to everybody's attention again. And so Caden passed away from a drug overdose, which we feel like now that we know, his uncle, Greg Parsons, has admitted that he has used methadone to escape his issues. And I'm not here to blame anybody or focus, but I just want to paint the picture of what we're dealing with. Not only that, but Caden was on a visit with his grandparents at his grandparents' home. When you give your child to somebody else, they're responsible for that child while they have them. And so when we go through the story, we're talking about a child who was in pain. He did complain about his stomach hurting. They did try to give him water. They did try to help him go to the bathroom because they didn't quite know what the situation was neither. He wasn't going to tell. He took some of his uncle's medicine or anything like that if that was the case. And he probably didn't know what was really going on. But we just feel like when somebody passes, that's the most important thing that there is. And the whole point of justice is to account for what happened. All right? My godson was 8 years old. He passed away. Nobody went to jail. We haven't gone to court. We haven't had our say in anything. And then when we talk to the prosecution, they tell my sister there's nothing that they can do. And so we just feel like that is unacceptable. We would like to see more. We have more information that we would like to present. But this is just so you guys can get familiar with our fight. And so we have made this a part of our mission. We started a charity a couple years ago. We actually have a day that we've dedicated to Caden to affect other children in the community. So again, this is not something that we're dwelling on. We're trying to, cause friction. We live in a country, a state full of justice. We are looking for justice for my godson.
Thank
And
you.
so,
And how do you spell his name, Caden?
Kayden. His middle name is Christopher. It's Christopher.
Parsons?
Yeah, Phillips. Phillips. Yes, that's his father's last name. Spell it.
Like the same spelling?
That's her last name.
Oh, yes, perfect.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
Is this still under investigation currently? Because we can't comment, we have limits to what we can't comment on anything with an open investigation. Do you know where it's being investigated?
It should be in Hamilton Town.
It happened in Hamilton.
Okay, but the
Prosecutor's office.
The prosecutor's going to override them and take that over.
Okay. We've gotten fractions of details.
We'll try to get your numbers to call so that you can, we don't want to comment because we really don't want it.
No problem. We just wanted to voice those concerns, and if we can get pointed in the right direction, would appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The prosecutor, did you think you spoke with Michaels?
Nardelli.
Nardelli.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, our condolences. We have next Teresa McLaughlin.
I'm with them.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't know how far down. Okay. Janice Bonnick.
Janice Clown, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. Zoning Board had a notice that they are having a meeting about warehouse that's going to go up on Klockner and Sloan, which I assume is Congolium. Now, that was put under rehabilitation, which means you guys have to approve it no matter what the Zoning Board says, correct?
Yeah, I thought that was litigation.
It's still, so what is going on is that we are in litigation about the first denial. They have since come to court with the second, the contracted purchasers have since come to the zoning board for a second warehouse development.
Is this the 80 trailer one?
That I don't know. I haven't seen the, I have not.
Was that when we knocked down? I don't know if it's the same guy coming back or
It's
not.
the same contract purchaser of the property.
Okay.
I am in litigation with them right now for their first denial of their first application. They have since, also what they're doing is they've come to the zoning board now with a different application entirely for a different warehouse with different design elements, and that's what they're seeing.
Okay, so that's what they're gonna be talking about?
Yes,
Okay, and this is the same
same contract.
that had the 81 that we discouraged?
That's already been denied, and they have sued both the planning board and Township of Hamilton, and I'm defending the Township of Hamilton in that litigation.
Okay,
I voted against it.
do a good job. Okay. We don't need any more
Yes, that,
tractor and trailers here, plus another one had got canned, but I didn't see it. Read up it again, where it was Sculptor's Way and East State Street Extension, where that big statue was, that was supposed to be a warehouse. And that, they changed that, but that, I have never seen that come back up yet, because all those tractors and trailers are going to, there's not that big of an intersection for them to all make these turns. It's gonna be like nuts, to say the least. Okay, so we know the same guy's still in the business, all righty. It's like a bad penny, he keeps turning up, right? Okay, and then my other question is, which I forgot to ask you, how did Hamilton get chosen as the headquarters for the, for the fire company?
Kathy, can you speak to that?
I mean, did they take a bid of among all the firemen and they said that was the place they wanted to be, or is it because that had more room, or what?
Yes, yes to all of them.
Okay,
It sort of, things all came together, right? We had a new chief,
Right.
that started because Chief Kramer retired.
right,
So when Chief Kramer started, which was in the beginning of 2021,
Mhm.
right, chose Rustling because it had some available spaces already, offices that were still there and all of that. Subsequent to that, earlier this year, we've seen that there's some issues with the design over there. In particular, there's a wall that needs to be put in and all of that. So instead of doing major renovations to there, they decided to move to, and the new chief really decided and thought this was a better space over at the new headquarters, and we agreed. And so they're redesigning that in order to accommodate. They also have a new structure, so to speak, of the organizational chart. So again, he's accommodating that as well. So there was more space was better, and so after giving the first, station a try, they think that this is going to be a little bit better for what they want to do. They're still going to utilize the old space for some of their other administrative staffing that's going to be over there. So they're kind of even just spreading out a little bit, but yeah, and the consolidation is still somewhat new, and so
right.
With the new chief, we wanted to support what some of his ideas, and we think it'll be a good headquarters.
Okay, and the new chief again was
Chief Tazi.
Tazi, right, that's right, because I know him too, okay. All righty, thank you.
And Janice, just to add
Yeah.
one thing, Kathy, just tell me if I'm wrong, but this is covered by this headquarters and the expenditures that was under the consent agenda, that line item. That's all covered by the grant, correct?
That's a good point that I missed, so thank you for pointing that out. Yes, so we got a consolidation grant, and because this is still part of the consolidation, it's covered by grant funds.
Oh, that's great. Doing a good job there, guys. Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, I don't have anyone else signed up on the sheet, but if anyone else would like to come to the podium with any comments or questions, again, 4 minutes, and then after everyone's had a chance, we'll offer another 2.
Excuse me. Carol Peoples, P.O. Box 9086, Hamilton. This young lady here, I didn't catch her name, actually, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I lived on South Broad Street in Yardville for 26 years. I petitioned the school board, all kinds of people, I may have even been here at one point, somebody, whatever, a long time ago, my kids are in their 30s now, but for sidewalks to go to Yardville Heights. I was told because it was 3 kids, it wasn't enough kids to put in sidewalks, yet they're all walkers behind 7-Eleven. So that didn't go anywhere. And then, now where I live, we live off of South Clinton Avenue, and that's a raceway. There's constant car accidents on South Clinton, and to see this happen over by Hamilton High West. I go to work in the morning, and I have to go past Hamilton High West heading to Trenton, and cars fly through that light. What is that Park in Clinton? Fly through the lights constantly, and I have to stop and hesitate to go through. When I was a kid starting to drive many moons ago, good Lord, over 40 years ago, that area was patrolled. You knew not to go over 25 because you would automatically pulled over. A lot of areas used to be like that in Hamilton. You used to get pulled over. We don't have that police presence now with tickets. Clinton Avenue, again, is a racetrack. Constant, every week there's an accident at one of the side streets because people are blowing through the stop signs. We need to have more police of these roads and of the speed that's going on in Hamilton. And have a school district where schools are, it really needs to be up-beefed. Like you said, how could you speed past a school? They do it all the time. I probably have done it too. Actually, I got pulled over in front of Robinson. I did. 20 years ago. But I'm trying to think how old my son was. But it's just something, sometimes you're just thinking where you're headed and you're not thinking of the speed limit and it's automatic. But when those red flashing lights become behind you, you know you have to, and you pay attention after that happens to you. You really do. That's all. I'm sorry for that family's loss. And the little girl broke a leg. I didn't hear about that one either.
Thank you. Please state your name and your address.
Hi, good evening. My name's Kimberly Thurston. I'm 106 Hollywood Drive in Hamilton. And I have a couple of questions and a couple of comments. That area, I moved there 22 years ago, and it was a quite quiet area, to my surprise. But since then, and it's relatively quiet now, but there's so much traffic, it's almost like a thoroughfare. Constantly being, if there's something that happens on Nottingham, they're diverted from Nottingham via Submaria, and they come through. Now, I don't know if how aware you are of that area. If you go in that area, you see very little signage. Stop signs, almost non-existent. When you come off of Mervine, I don't believe that there's a stop sign merging onto Hollywood. And Hollywood is a big U. So when you come in, you go to your right, the Public Works, is that what that is? Department is over there. And it's a big U. So if you don't know your way around, you're constantly, I can't even tell you how many people I directed, because they're on Hollywood and then all of a sudden they're someplace else. They don't know where they are. They're on Parker. But when that traffic comes through, and there's a lot of kids, always been a lot of kids. Luckily, no one's been hit. Literally, they come down that road because it's wide, 60, 55, tractor trailers. My sister and I saw a tractor trailer making a right off of Park Lane. I don't know how he managed that. Making a left onto Hollywood Drive. And this is an 18-wheeler. Most of those 18-wheelers are coming from BB's. And my house used to shake until they fixed the roads there. But all that weight coming through there has to be a way that BB can get their supplies using advising their carriers that they can't bring tractor trailers onto the street. And Park Lane itself is so narrow, I don't even know how they come down there because there's always cars parked on both sides. So I had commented to Mr. Dumont that there needs to be also someone there to check out the speeding. It is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. And there needs to be somebody on Mervine, sitting on Mervine, watching this traffic flow. Because if they sit on Hollywood Drive, why would you speed when you see a cop? So that's one thing. The other thing that I'm concerned about is the culvert that we're in a flood zone, and that culvert is there. Who maintains that culvert? Who's responsible for the maintenance of that culvert? Because right over by the Public Works building, someone broke the fencing that's over there. I think there was a gentleman that used to park cars there, and he cleared all that area, and that fence is broken. Any kid can fall into that, and it's been that way for maybe a year. And I also noticed it on another side.
I'm sorry, Ms. Thurston, I hate to interrupt your 4 minutes. Is that
Okay.
But I've seen, all of us are taking copious notes, and Kathy, I'm sure is going to follow.
Where was the fence broken?
It's over by the Public Works building. So
By the park? By the
Sign
park
shop.
there?
Yeah.
to the left of the
Sign
building.
shop.
So if you're coming in from Submaria, as soon as you pass the house directly across from it, on your right, there's a little alleyway, but on your right, there's the culvert, and that fence is broken. It's broken in 2 places. And then on the opposite side of Hollywood Drive, coming around onto Joan Terrace, that gate, there's a gate there that's always open, and it's to the side of someone's home. And I just can't imagine why it would not be fixed at this point. And I don't know if it's the township's responsibility or FEMA's, but it's really concerning.
We're definitely going.
We'll look at it.
Close that one.
Absolutely, thank you. Again, if anyone from the public would like to come to the podium, with a question or a comment, please come on up, state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Janet Mosner, 2 Waltham Court, Hamilton Square. I'm an animal lover. I've seen all you guys before. And I'm a little disturbed about the response of nobody coming out for injured or any animals that the ACOs are not coming out. And you're leaving the animals suffering and dying, and it's not fair to the animals, to the residents that have to deal with that are left with the problem. And I've heard the recordings, and I hear those poor dispatchers on there too, and I feel bad for them. I mean, they don't have an answer. They can't send anybody out because nobody's going to go, so it's like they're sorry, but you're stuck with that problem. Can we do something about?
Well, one thing that I intend to do is to have a discussion about staffing during the next budget hearings and to talk about whether we're prioritizing our ACOs enough, whether we need to go to a system where we at least have someone who is responsible for being on call, if not on duty, 24/7, because right now we don't. We have no one's, so that's an issue that I agree we need to look at. And there are 2 issues that we have to work through in order to resolve that problem, because I heard the recordings as well. One is the budgetary issue and how many ACOs we're budgeting for. And are we budgeting for enough ACOs? And we need to look at that. The second issue is, do the labor rules that govern the ACO position allow us to have 24/7 coverage? So these are questions that we have to work through in order to address these issues, but I do agree with you, these are issues we need to address.
Because I heard on one of them, I could be mistaken, but they were calling an outside agency, but then somehow with the paperwork, the contracts weren't right, and the lady didn't come out. It was for the cat that somebody had that had 2 broken legs, and she ended up taking it to North Star to have it euthanized out of her own.
I'm not familiar with the specifics of that particular.
But you know how us animal lovers, I know you know. And, you know, we need to do something with that. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Farrow, did you want to?
Oh, yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, I mean, Rick hit it on, it doesn't work, mine doesn't work.
No, all right.
They don't need it. I think Rick hit it the nail on the head. It's tough to say we have an ACO on call if they're not coming in and they're technically not on call. I know we say we have them on call, but if nobody's required to answer their phone and come in, it's difficult for people to swallow. If someone's on call and something happens, plumber's on call, a cop is on call, somebody's coming. When somebody's on call, but they're not required to come in, are they truly on call? And I think that's where the separation and the break in communication comes, when the public hears somebody's on call and we're not requiring them to be because it's contractual, right? It's all collective bargaining. If they're truly on call, they should be coming in. And I think that's where the gap in communication is here.
Well, I think that's where we have a little misunderstanding as well, right? So we don't have on-call ACOs, right? We don't have standby ACOs. What we have done is put a protocol in place that addresses after-hours calls. And before that, the hours, we adjusted shifts so that we actually have ACOs on at certain times of the day that had more calls than others, right? We shifted them so that they're coming in later in the morning and working later into the evening, right? And so, and for after those hours, after the evening hours and for weekends, right, we have a protocol that's in place that we work with. The calls come into police dispatch and we work with them to answer the calls as they're required to answer, right? So because we don't have on-call or mandatory standby, right, they put calls out. They first call the director, and then the director says, is this an issue that requires an ACO to appear? In many cases it is. Then they put the calls in, they start calling the ACOs and wait for a call back from one of the ACOs to say, I can go out and I can respond to them. If they don't get a call, we have a mutual aid agreement with the neighboring town, and the director and the health officer end up working with that health officer to have one of their ACOs respond. In many, many occasions, the police department, who's already there and has received the calls, right, they're handling it, and sometimes even when an ACO does respond, they call them off to say, you know, we took care of it. And so I think we have many different situations that come up, and, you know, if we need more communication between, you know, police dispatch and our ACOs and our health officer, then, you know, then we can do that and brush up on a training or come up with, I think the ACOs are even coming up with situational issues, right, that they can say, here's how you should respond to some of these things. A lot of the calls we get are wildlife that aren't things that our animal control is required or should respond to. That goes to a different organization. Unless, of course, there's certain situations like such as rabies and things like that. We've heard that before. Rabies or a few other situations if the animal is obviously ill or maybe exhibits rabies symptoms or anything like that. Or if they've also had contact with a human or another animal. right? So they'll come out for those, but not every situation that's called in that they go out for. So I didn't get an opportunity to listen to the tapes, but I certainly will. And I think it's appropriate to have this discussion again at budget time, and we can review then as to whether we need to do anything different instead.
So for the wildlife part, if ACOs are not responding, who does come out?
This is NJDEP Wildlife, and the number is 609-303-0552. And again, for the record, it is 609-303-0552. That's the Mercer County Wildlife. If you don't remember that and want to use 1877 number, that is Warren DEP, and I'm pulling that up right now. Hold on. I think it's literally 1877 Warren DEP, but I don't know what those numbers are off the top of my head, so just want to point out.
And that's great that we have a telephone number, but shouldn't our dispatchers be contacting that organization if that's the,
No, it's the public who see it, so
how's the public supposed to know that?
Well, they can be informed by dispatch or anyone else that.
Well, then that's maybe where the shortfall is.
Well, I don't think there's a shortfall necessarily. It's like, but I think what
If
we're going to try to do.
all due respect, Kathy, if the public's told there's nothing we can do, and there's an animal that may have rabies or may not have rabies or is grievously injured, and folks are being told there's nothing we can do, then that's a shortfall.
Rabies is different, ACOs report to rabies. All other wildlife is not under Title IV of the New Jersey statutes, and the number, I have the number now, it's 1-877-927-6337. Again, 1-877-927-6337, 1-877 Warren DEP hotline. That is, it's state, they have jurisdiction over these matters. We do not. So for the wildlife that's hurt, that's who you call.
Can we maybe push these numbers and organizations out through social media?
Absolutely.
Yes, we're going to try to do that, and that's why I said even until you can have this discussion again at budget and possibly make some changes or discussion anyway, we're going to try to put those, like, I don't want to say frequent callers, but some of those incidents that have happened in the past that may not have been communicated properly in any way, or it may not have been understood by the caller coming in either, right? So, and it may have different situations. If they call in about wildlife, right, what are they supposed to do? Where are they supposed to call? So we're trying to put that on the website, and, we can also have it with our information data that we do through Hamstat, so if they happen to call there, they can do that, although the Hamstat's not there after hours, but we're trying to get the information out there so that people know what to do and who to call for certain circumstances.
And the DEP hotline is actually on the shelter page.
Well, if the calls are coming through dispatch and dispatch is possibly saying, we don't know what to do, I mean, as of tomorrow, couldn't we get that information to them so it's in front of them and they could quickly refer people to the proper organization?
Wait, I'm confused. Why is it that, and I know this is for discussion, and we got a health department meeting coming up that we can have that discussion too, but we're sitting here saying, why can't the dispatcher give that person the number? Why can't the dispatcher just call it?
Yes.
Wait, you know what I mean? Like, wait, I call in, I got a problem, whether it's rabies, a duck, a goose is on my property and it's dying, and I call the dispatcher, and the dispatcher naturally knows that, hey, this should be called to the county. Why can't that dispatcher make that call?
And by the way, if the dispatcher can just connect our residents to that telephone number, that would have saved about 15 minutes of that dispatcher's time. If in the particular instance that I'm thinking of, where a resident called back 3 times, took up township resources, not getting an answer, over 3 phone calls over a period of an hour or 2 hours, when they could have just connected that person to the right phone number. So my only point is, I disagree that it's not our responsibility to connect these folks with the right, people don't know. They call the township because animal control. We have an animal control department that is responsible, right? So if we can't handle a call, then, why wouldn't we connect them with the right people who can handle that call instead of having them call us back 3 times?
I certainly think it's worth the discussion. I do not think this is an issue with training of dispatch or anything like that. I think it's just different circumstances that are coming in. And so I'm not going to say everything it's all, nothing has gone wrong in handling, but there may be occasions for that. I certainly don't want to sit here and try to second guess the chief's protocols for certain things. There are a lot of things that go into those protocols that we don't know, right? It's really up to public safety to do that. But I think it's worth the discussion, and I'm sure that the chief would mind having those discussions. So we'll make sure that he's included, or anyone else that he designates is included in discussions. There's nothing wrong with that.
Good.
Thank you. Steve?
Steve Clegg, Wolfpack Road. I have to contradict a lot of what was just said, but I do have to agree with the impression that there are a lot of situations that the dispatcher and the police and you as counsel don't have the knowledge or training to address these things. And that's exactly why in 1983, Title IV was amended, specifically requiring a standardized certification for ACOs and for every municipality to assign an ACO to respond to these things. And they're supposed to respond to all ill or injured animals reported to them, specifically because they are the ones that were certified to determine what the issue is. The caller, the dispatcher, the health director on the other end of the phone, or anybody else looking at these animals doesn't know what's wrong with them. They know something's wrong. It's not for them to determine, is it rabies, while they're looking out the window. You can't tell if an animal who's dragging its back legs was hit by a car, if he's only injured, if he got injured because he was sick and had rabies. You don't know if he just bit somebody 10 minutes ago or is going to bite somebody 10 minutes from now. That's the reason the ACO goes to respond. It's a public safety issue. DEP is not coming out for a public safety issue in Hamilton. That's not their role. They collect information on illnesses within wildlife, deer wasting disease, and they just track that. They don't come out and respond. The ACOs are not responsible for wildlife nuisance, the bat in your house, the groundhog digging in your garden. Those they don't have to respond to. An ill animal, an injured animal, is a dangerous animal. They're hiding in the bushes. Your kid comes home from school. They don't know there's an injured animal in the bush. What's an animal going to do when something stumbles upon him? You let your dog out. That possibly rabid raccoon that the dispatcher just said, nobody's coming, who just wandered down the street, is now in somebody else's yard. Those are public safety issues. That's the reason the law was amended in '83. That's the reason they specify a certified animal control officer. They didn't say any animal control officer. They didn't say you could assign anybody. You have to assign a certified animal control officer, and part of their certification is dealing with these wildlife issues. It's not for any of us or the dispatcher to determine over the phone what this animal's issue is. And we need to stop peddling that false information because somebody's going to get hurt. We've heard 2, a skunk and a raccoon. They contacted the director. She said she obviously agreed somebody needs to go out, but nobody went out. That's the problem. The ACOs need to respond. That's what they're there for. If they're not going to go out for this, then that's a problem. The township will be liable if something happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to clarify anything?
I have an email from the state that says otherwise, but we'll leave it at that.
That's all right, we'll have the discussion.
Right.
And the discussion's going to continue, and again, we have our Board of Health meeting on November 14th, where I believe we will be continuing this discussion as well. Yes. Oh, before Chanel, before you come up, is there anyone else who would like to come up for our first time to the podium? Okay, so you can come on up, so you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Chanel, Ridge Avenue. I just had a quick question. When a person was to send a complaint to Hampstead about dumping on just random bushes, how long is the turnaround for the trash to be removed? Does anybody know? I'm just curious.
I missed your question.
Is it a bush or vegetation?
It's trees, a lot of trees. We have the graveyard on, what's that street? That's sad, I live there, I don't know what street it is. Well, on Borden Avenue, we have trees. There's a big stretch of trees, of just trees, and people dump a lot. We report, there's a group of Neighborhood Watch. We tag team it, and we report, but then sometimes it takes almost 2 weeks for the stuff to be removed. So I'm just curious to know what's the turnaround for it to be picked up once we report it to Hempstead?
I think it's like anything else, any of the Hampstead issues that are reported or sent in to them. They assign it to whoever's responsible. In that case, it would probably be the zoning officer. The zoning officer prioritizes his calls that come in as well. So I don't think there's any set time that says that. And I do know that, we have one, and they get a lot of calls. But he has a protocol that he goes through as well to go out and check things out and, issue summonses if necessary, or have a crew that he then, our public works crew would end up going out and cleaning up the place. So it not only has to be scheduled by the zoning officer, but in some cases where we go out and do the cleanup, right, he has to get the DPW scheduled as well. So, there's probably, I don't know how many calls a year he gets, but there's quite a few, and I think he just tries to keep moving through all of them as they come in.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, we may have misspoken on the Board of Health date. I just want to correct that.
It's the 21st. It's the next week.
It is in November, we just picked it.
But we pushed it.
That's right.
There's there's the first week of November, and then the Monday night of the week.
That's right.
That's right, we're doing Monday night.
We don't ever
That's
have-
right.
We don't ever have a meeting on a week where you missed August.
Well, they just moved it from Tuesday to, I think he moved it from Tuesday.
We typically just have one meeting.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, and the 14th.
Yep, somebody else.
All right, Mr. Walters.
James Walters, P.O. Box 8935. So first off, I feel bad even coming back to talk, and I'm not going to take your good people's time any longer. I feel terrible about the talk of children dying and people dying, and, quite frankly, I'm a cat lover, and if someone were to mess with my cats or something were to happen, I would be broken. You can kind of confirm that with my wife. But the only thing I want to say, as we've gone through this journey, is my particular incident, I was following a thing called Incident Command Systems, right? And Pat's familiar with this. Incident Commander, Operations, right? Planning, Logistics, Administration. It's a modular setup, and that's what I followed with, right? When something happens, and I'm not going to get into the minutia, but when something happens, you have to report that to your supervisor. I did that. I followed the Attorney General guidelines from the state of New Jersey. I did that. I studied it. I opened the book. I did what I was supposed to do. And however it happened, something went very wrong there. With that said, even after things went wrong, and even after I didn't necessarily receive all of the discovery that I needed to defend myself and couldn't defend myself because I didn't have the discovery, in 2014, to your point, we were going through an accreditation process, and I was asked, we know you have a background in human resources. Can you assist us with developing a recruiting program for minorities? Now, this is in the heat of everything that's going on. And I said yes, and I did it. and I did it well, in my opinion. Well, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, I did the best I could. So in terms of, my animosity, I just want to clear that up. I don't have any animosity towards the Township of Hamilton. I love living here, right? And I apologize, I'm done. That's that. But I did offer the police department ICS training because I know that they don't have an ICS trainer at this time.
Can you clarify for me what ICS stands for?
Incident Command System.
Thank you.
And I spoke to the lieutenant in the training division, an organization that I was with formerly. I said, hey, listen, I know you don't have a trainer. I will give you the training free of charge. And you can confirm that with the lieutenant. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to put him out there, but free of charge in the midst of this. This was a few weeks ago. So there is much love for the police department. I just wish I could get some love too. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Janice?
These tall people. Janice Glonick, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. With the speeding and all, I kind of remember at Cooser and whatever the road St. Anthony's High School was on, which is now a Catholic thing.
Leonard?
Yeah. The lady there had people running, somehow or they're running the stop sign and crashing into her house. And they ended up putting a thing there, and there was like flashing lights when as you came up. There was like flashing lights, like stop, stop. Now, could they have something like that with like 25-mile-an-hour signs as you come to the school, like, like at 8:30 or whatever, ahead of time, that these signs are flashing to shake people up, hey, slow it up, even though they're supposed to be slow, but that would, have something to, because I've seen schools too that have sometime, slow down, the school zone, and it's flashing. So maybe if they had something like that would, hey, whoa, bring them to their senses a little bit and might help to slow them up as well.
I agree with you, Janice, and that's exactly what we've been talking about because, I live right in Mercerville, so I go past Sion, forget.
Yeah, I always say Sion too.
But, that compared to more, you go by
yeah, they've got that. That's what, yeah. Right.
Signage, lights, there's no way you're going speeding, right?
Precisely.
And in another school, it's different. So that's, again, what we've been talking about is trying to make it equitable across all of the schools. But it does take a lot of coordination with the different departments, the county. So that is exactly what, like, Dina and I talked about and have been working on to do that. Because that was my first instinct when it happened at Morgan. Like, why don't they have big flashing lights? I mean, I'm sure, and if anyone's been down Nottingham when they're letting out, you could barely walk faster through that area, let alone drive through there, right?
Right.
So it's also a narrower road, so that we talked about, maybe there's some grants to put in bike lanes so we can kind of narrow the road. So these are all, so it's in discussion and we're working on it, I promise you.
Okay, I mean, there are certain schools that need it more than others. Like my school, Alexandria, we have that circle there and there's so many, even though it's a walking school, so many parked cars there for, people picking up their walking students that, it's really hard to speed through there.
Right.
On the side street, it would be Estates Boulevard, but we're right in front of the school where the kids let out. That's a different ballgame there, so, but.
No, those are great ideas and thank you for
Okay.
coming. Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to return to the podium for another 2 minutes? Ms. Thurston? Yes. And on.
Kimberly Thurston, 106 Hollywood Drive, Hamilton. The other thing I wanted to ask about, I used to walk my dog down all through the area and down by Krausers. The lighting is out the street lights in some places are completely out. And when you go over by Family Dollar, between all the shrubbery that they have and the lights, you can't see any. It's very dark. It's a very dark path from there up to, I think that's Linwood or someplace like that.
Mm-hmm.
If that can be well lit. The other thing is, That's a business area. The businesses should be held accountable and responsible for maintaining that area. It looks like you're in the middle of Newark, not even Newark proper, because that's very nice. But, with cars and everything on the side, it just looks like we would just fell off. And, I mean, we're all Hamilton. We may not be Cromwell or University Heights, but we're Hamilton nonetheless. And that area should look as nice as it can. And one of the things to do is lighting, and secondly, to the people that are on Greenwood, they park, if there is a curb, they're on the curb. What's the point in doing infrastructure if they can park on the work that you've just done? It seems to make no sense. You're throwing good money after bad. So that's the other thing that I would ask. And the same for Leslie. In my area, there's a parking issue. And people that are all the way up on Park Lane, they ride around, they park on, what do you call that?
Sorry, Ms. Thurston, if you can finish.
Mervine, I'm going to finish.
Yep.
Mervine. And they come all the way down and park their vehicles. Now, a lot of these people have multiple vehicles, and they're work vehicles. Now, I was told that those work vehicles can be on the street, but that's going to be a problem when it comes time for the snow, and these people aren't available to move their cars. We won't get the benefit of the snow plow. That's it. Thank you.
Sad part, any residential.
Do we have anyone else who would like to have a comment or has a question?
When they're trying to clear the street.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no further public comment, I'll turn to the council for comments. Do you have any volunteers?
Sure, I'm glad to go first. Especially, I could tell there's probably Philly fans out here that want to go watch a game, so I'll keep it brief. It's ironic, I guess today we talked about life without water, right? And I'm sure many residents have been following what's going on at Trenton Water Works, and some recent announcements that have come out of the state, which is good. Long time coming. I think it should be recognized that, our mayor, along with some of the other mayors from the area that utilize, our residents that utilize Trenton Water, stepped up to the plate with also our assembly in the 14th district, Wayne D'Angelo and Dan Benson. And it looks like after many years of looking for the state to take it over or oversight of TWW, that's finally going to happen. So it's long overdue. It's a shame that their sitting council couldn't appropriate money that was set aside to do some of the projects that needed to be done to upgrade Trenton Water. It's a very, very old facility that needs to be updated so that we don't have the problems that we've been having over the course of time, not only in our communities but the other surrounding communities that Trenton Water Services provides services to. So. It's a good thing, long time coming, and I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. With that, again, I hope everybody has a safe night, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Carvalho?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I also want to echo what Councilman Chuddy Whalen had mentioned regarding Trenton Water Works. I'm encouraged by that news and the fact that hopefully we'll see. He's throwing me off right now. You purposely did that. So, no, hopefully we'll see some important improvements. Important improvements with the Trenton Water Works, and that was some encouraging news. Just want to thank you. If you don't bring these issues to us at a meeting like this, or we can't address them, so we're happy to have some of the comments that were made today. And thank you for coming out. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you. Councilman Yvette?
So if anyone is not registered to vote, today is the deadline. Go to vote.nj.gov. Make your voice heard. This past Sunday, there was another successful Oktoberfest at Veterans Park. It was a beautiful day. Well done by the Township staff, who worked very hard to make it a successful day. You know, there are a lot of ongoing challenges in our community, and we appreciate you coming and letting us know about the challenges in the neighborhoods where you live. In a town of 90,000 people, we can't always be aware of everything that's happening, but a lot of these are serious safety challenges that you know, we're going to work on getting answers to. So we will be following up on a lot of these questions. We do have our Board of Ed liaison here, and I know that coming up, the school district is doing evening college fairs so that the parents can attend, college and career fairs, so that the parents can attend with the students, you know, in an ongoing effort to just engage, and things continue to seem to be headed in the right direction with our schools. So I commend our school board and the staff of the school district for their efforts. One last point, it's Halloween season. This Thursday, there's going to be a free performance reading at the library of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So if anybody wants to hear a scary story, show up at the library this Thursday. And with that, I will thank you all for being here. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Wright. Councilman Papera?
I'm going to be quick. I just want to, I think most importantly, express my condolences for the family that came tonight. The loss of a child is probably something that no parent should ever have to go through, no family should have to go through. I think I speak on behalf of not only everyone up here, but everybody in the room and everybody in town in expressing our condolences. And we will make sure you get the right phone numbers to reach out to and to follow up on whatever you have, whatever other information you have. But we are sorry. As far as everything else, congratulations, Larry, twice, once on your proclamation and also once on your engagement. So we congratulate you both on that.
You guys deserve a round of applause.
I want to thank everybody else for coming out as well. We don't know things unless people bring it to our attention. The cars or the lights that maybe are out on certain streets, we don't know. Greenwood Avenue is actually a state highway, so we have to work in conjunction with the other groups in order to get some of those things done. But knowing the two women to my left, I'm pretty sure that they're going to be handled. I know them well, and we brag about them often, so we know it'll be handled. I think the next meeting is in November, right? Feels like we just had 4th of July, but I guess the next time we see each other will be November. Everybody have a safe couple weeks until we see each other again, and get home safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. So always being the last, a lot of what I was going to say has already been said. I do want to highlight, as Councilman Whalen talked about Trenton Waterworks, you know, we really, I'm going to brag about it. I think we work very well together. We don't always agree, but we work together. And we couldn't have accomplished this without our mayor and the mayors of Ewing and Lawrence and what's next? Hopewell, who all coordinated this effort and have been fighting for years to get this kind of supervision and protection for our residents and their residents from, and keeping our water clean from Trenton Waterworks. So it's a collective. It's great to see that we can work together with our neighbors in Mercer County to make some changes. Thank you to everyone who brought, like everyone has said, thank you for coming tonight. it's great to have more people coming and bringing, concerns to us that we can address. And we will follow up, definitely. And if you don't hear from us, please follow up with us and we'll make sure you have those answers. So, and again, I just want to thank Dina Thornton, our liaison from the Board of Ed, who's here tonight. And Larry, congratulations. It was a pleasure tonight to have you. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. So I have.